may I please welcome our entrepreneur in residence, Patricia Quintero.
We have been talking up to now. We talk about the journey. We talk about how we actually go, what the challenges are that we're going to be experiencing. We've talked about like going from that idea to actually building like a minimum viable product. But tonight I want to talk about, and then last week, well, not last week, the week before, we actually addressed the market growing and actually how we will go between building that brand to potentially to then rolling the word and the content and the communications out. We had a great seminar last week, a great panel actually at the North York Central Library with 4 entrepreneurs that shared a lot of insight. And then tonight I want to talk about what happens after that product? What happens after you have that brand? What is it that you're actually putting together? And most importantly, who is it that you're going to rely to make sure that that vision comes to life? I mean, for many, this might seem a little bit, I'll say, ahead of the game. So if you're just sort of dabbling with an idea, it is a matter that you might say, oh, really, like I'm not even close, or I'm not interested, or I don't really want to have a team or have a really big operation because I just want to have something that's very small. But at the same time, the culture. I mean, when I talk about team and culture, this is part of who we are, and this is really at the core of the company. It's really like the DNA and what's going to be the engine that's going to be driving it in many of the relationships that we are going to have. So when we launch our venture, we're building relationships, truthfully. We have this concept, we have this idea, we have this product or service, and we're building relationships at many different levels. We have clients, we have investors, we have vendors, we have our employees, our team, our coworkers, or our community. These touch in many different points or areas of the organization. Clients, they are our engine, they are the driver, they bring the money, and we tend to usually, obviously, prioritize them on top of like any of the other relationships that we see here. So the truth is that, investors have, I'll say, a different type of interest. They are support, they are also our engine, they are the ones that are behind us and making us things happening. They believe and the idea and the plans and the goals that we have. At the same time, we are accountable to them in terms of how we're going to return everything that they've invested in us. We have vendors that I can't emphasize enough how important this relationship is. I've always built my businesses on the basis of having very strong relationships with the vendors and the people that are helping me serve my clients, and that's always how I've actually seen it. Many individuals, many businesses really have a very different approach, which is how can I squeeze them, how can I make more money out of them. The truth is that especially when you are small and you're starting, your vendors are your partners. This is the people, as I say, they're going to enable you like your ability to be able to deliver your product or your service. And it is probably more likely that you're going to be having to call on them for favors in terms of if you have a last minute order that you want to fulfill. You really want to make sure, like, you're going to pick up the phone and say, hey, like, I know that you usually have a 6 or 8 week lead time, but I have somebody that really needs this delivered in 2 weeks. Do you think you can help me make this happen? And that's sort of what I want to really emphasize here tonight, is you really want to have a great relationship with your vendors. Treat them well, be their friend, and most importantly, pay them on time, because that's really going to make you stronger rather than stronger in the sense of being able to build the business rather than stronger in the sense of feeling like sort of the power and the control of. You need them as much as they need you. Then you have your employees, which are your co-workers and probably your team. This is the group of people that you're going to be spending the most time with. They're closer to you. And most important, these are the individuals that are going to help you make sure that that vision that you have for your product, for your brand, comes out to life. They are going to make sure that it happens. And you have the community where you are growing, operating, functioning, buying, tapping onto resources that you're accountable for. So you need to make sure that you are connected with them, that you know what's happening, that you're part of them, and most importantly, that you're giving back and working with them. Because in this day and age, I think that we are being, especially as founders and as an owners, we're really being held accountable for by everybody that's around us. I mean, companies have never been under so much pressure. It used to be that you could have your own little, I'll say, world and try to profit as much of it as you could, if you wanted. But today, you really need to be thinking with a 360 stakeholder relationship in mind at all times. But what keeps all of these relationships together? I mean, there has to be something, or you as an organization, as a company, as a founder, as a startup, what you name it, you need to have something that's binding all of these individuals or elements of your organization together. And that actually is your organizational culture. Which is the underlying set of values that you're going to be striving to achieve based on the vision that you have for your organization. So this is when you're actually, once you start thinking on the culture that you want to build, this really is once you're sort of thinking of, okay, I have this product that is amazing. Now I have to build a company that is amazing and allows me to deliver this product. Because no matter how great your product, you're not going to be able to build it and deliver it and do everything on your own. And you're going to need the support of everybody, but most importantly, that company has to be great in order to deliver a great product. Many great products don't make it to life because they don't get the right resources and team aligned around it. So that's very important. So what actually is company culture? I mean, I tried to, I was reading some audios and podcasts about startups and teamwork and everything. So I found this really practical the definition that I really love. But if you go to, say, Wikipedia, it's a set of values and behaviors that contribute to the unique and psychological environment of a business. That's great, but what does it actually mean on an everyday basis? It's really the core values and the actions that each member of your team is going to be putting forward so you can achieve the mission of your that you've actually stated for your company. It really is like a compass. It's what's, as I say, is the driver. It's what's going to help you navigate. It's what's really help you understand as a leader how is it that you want for your company to operate and function on a daily basis in terms of relationships between everybody internally and also the relationships externally with your stakeholders. Most importantly, you are going to need to align all those stakeholders to your mission and the company culture. I mean, eventually you cannot have an investor if you are in pro of, say, a very healthy, you're producing a product whose objective is to enhance health. You probably don't want to have an investor that has funds or is well known for investing in other companies that produce products, that make something that's actually detrimental for health individuals. I mean, you really need to understand, keep your values up. It's going to be the same for your vendors. If speed, time, service, and delivery is what you want to achieve, those vendors need to have clarity and be committed to delivering to you in that same way. I mean, it is the only way that's going to enable you to deliver and to achieve what you want. So you want to make sure that there's an alignment between the values that others, that you want to make sure that these stakeholders value the same things that you value and can support you at the same when you need it. And these also, I'm going to get into a lot of detail in that in a minute, but this is going to be probably the main driver with when you hire. I mean, hiring people, the culture and the values that you have is what you're going to be really looking for in individuals that you want to hire, especially in a startup, because that's like being that when you're starting and you're such a small team, you really need to make sure that those individuals that are going to be with you and they're going to be really like doing so many different jobs at so many different areas at the beginning, like that can actually, that are there because they want to be part of you and that because they really connect with you at the level, at the value, at the right values. So I saw this quote and I loved it, and it really emphasized the importance of your vision as a founder. If you're starting a new venture and you really need to have a very clear vision of what is it that you want to achieve, because your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your values. And then your values become your destiny. And that's what's going to really take you to the other end. Culture aligns people and values that matter to the company, and it provides certain elements of stability to fall back on, and it provides trust, which is going to really, as I said, what's going to be driving teamwork, what's going to be driving like the everyday operations of your organization. So how do you actually bring culture into life? So, I mean, as I said, the whole goal is, as a founder, you need to set a vision. You need to really plan and say, this is how we want to. This is why we're here. This is what we stand for. And we talk a lot about this when we talk about the product. I mean, that's sort of what you want to sort of fix a solution. There's a reason why you are building what you're building. And that, as I say, is going to permeate. We talk about this when we talk about the brand. It's going to touch on your brand. What is it that, as a company, you want for it to stand for in terms of values towards, I'll say, the market, and then internally, what are the values that you're going to want to have within your organization? So you set your vision for the company, then you create that culture, you build a product, and then you choose a team that aligns to it, and that's really where culture kicks in. You want to set the ground from the beginning. I'm going to play a little bit later like a video of one of the founders of Airbnb, where he sort of emphasizes and mentions how for them it was so important to get that right from day one. So a lot of the times, there's some, as organizations, once they've sort of grown and they've gone through this sort of crazy moment where, if they're lucky to sort of grow really fast and they're sort of hiring people, and then at some point you sort of say, well, why is it that we're here? Or what is it that we stand for? Or what is it that we want to fight? So we can start aligning team dynamics. You sort of start seeing a lot of these when you don't have your values, your vision and your values very clear up front, you are going to have to start, you're going to start seeing challenges internally within the organization in terms of performance, in terms of communications, and in terms of teams being able to deliver your plan. So why is culture so important? Culture influences how we interact among each other. It influences the context in which knowledge is created. The resistance individuals will have towards certain changes, and most importantly is what team members share or what they do not share when it comes to knowledge. So as I say, if you start from the beginning having this very clear, and if you're being hiring individuals that are committed to the same values that you are, you really should be able to achieve higher performance within your team. A company that has, I've talked about them, I've used it as an example before here in the past, which is Zappos. They actually have a really great set of values. As we grow as a company, it has become more and more important to explicitly define the core values from which we develop our culture, our brand, and our business strategies. These are then the core values that we live by. And they say we have 10, and say we deliver wow through service. Service is one of the biggest things they want to achieve. We embrace and drive change. We create fun and little weirdness. We usually, if you call their customer service, they're always making jokes or try to make it a little bit more fun and dynamic. We're adventurous, creative, and open-minded. We pursue growth and learning. We build honest relationship with communication. We build a positive team and a family spirit. We do more with less. We're passionate, determined, and humble. So as I say, this is the set of values that they live by, and this is how they try to make sure these are embedded every day during the internal operations and interactions of their team and the organization. Another great one is, say, Starbucks, that many of us are probably familiar with them as a brand. But then as a company, they strive to provide great work environment and treat each other with respect and dignity, embrace diversity, apply the highest standards of excellence to purchasing, roasting, and making sure the coffee is fresh. They develop enthusiastic, satisfied customers all the time, contribute positively to our communities and our environment. And I actually love the last one in the sense that A, it is the last one, and B, the way they sort of drafted. We know a lot of the time we tend to think profit first, but they actually embedded it. It's at the end, but it's actually in a very subtle way, as recognize that profitability is essential to the future of our success, which is true. I mean, as an organization, you're doing this because you need to make a profit. You need to, you want to make revenue, you want to be profitable, but you want to make sure that all your stakeholders are properly taken care of. But I think that I wanted to sort of make sure that everybody can get the sense of how important the beginning, that core values, that why we stand for as an organization, are clear and get conveyed and get used to, or are present throughout all the decisions that we're taking every time. So with that, once you have that vision, once you have those values, and the idea of the culture that you want to bring based on what you believe you stand for, then you start bringing on a team that aligns with those actual, with the values. So how do you build the right team? The most important thing is you need to know what your goals are, and then you're going to find a team that fits the goals, right? You want to make sure that they are able and capable to deliver on what you want to achieve. Also, don't make it too large, especially at the beginning. As a founder, you want to do as much for as long as you can on your own. And then once you start hiring people, as you saw, these guys did everything between him and the co-founder for over the first year. Which is kind of crazy if you think that it's such a young company. They've had a skyrocket growth, but originally you want to make sure that you control, that you understand, that you choose, and you're as picky as he was saying that how paranoid he can be. Don't make it too large. Sometimes the size of a team is seen as a sign of success. Oh, I have a startup. Yeah, how many people do you have? Oh, I have 25. Then all of a sudden it seems like, oh, I'm being super successful because I have a lot of people. But the reality is that the smaller the team, you need to have the number of people that allows you to deliver what you want to achieve, but with the smallest number of people. Because in large organizations, an individual or teams that are overly too big, you can sort of scatter and sort of kick tires and get hide between all the other individuals within the organization. But small organizations, you really want to make sure that the individuals that are part of a team are clear in what they're doing and are as efficient as they can be. You definitely want diversity to bring to the conversation, different points of view. The last thing that you want is everybody thinking the same. As you said, you want diversity in background, in ages, in different set of points of view, but one of the things that you want to make sure that remain, as I said, the glue that sticks together, that keeps you together, is the diversity, is the values of the organization. You want to make sure that everybody is committed to them and stands by them. So you want to have that diversity to make sure that you have really interesting conversations. You want to make sure that you promote the idea of challenging others and questioning things and why is it that you're going in that direction. You definitely want to keep the skill level when you are hiring. You want to have technical and functional expertise. You want to make sure individuals are able to they have task management skills, but at the same time, you want to make sure that they have interpersonal skills that are, especially communication, that you want to make sure that individuals are able to communicate with other members of their team. And most importantly, you really want to make sure that you have defined roles and processes. I mean, when you are small, when you're starting, roles are not very defined, and even we'll talk a little bit about technical expertise is important. I want to talk about experience a little bit about how that is probably not as important originally, as long as you want to make sure that you want to have individuals that can deliver what you need, that have the ability to communicate, to make things happen, and to move fast and for that you definitely need to have or build processes and clear roles. So why do you think build the teams? As I said, Isidore Sharp, founder of Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts, said, long-term success is never achieved on our own. The phrase, a self-made man, is a myth all along the way. We need support. And really, we can only achieve so much on our own. We're never going to be able to deliver everything that we want unless we are surrounded by individuals that support us. So as I say, we don't necessarily need a team right away as founders. We want to make sure that we do as much as we can from on our own at the beginning, because we want to make sure that we know and understand and control what we're doing. As I said, Airbnb only had 2 employees during their first year, and it took them 5 months to hire their first employee. And they interviewed hundreds of people, and they only hired what they found the right fit for the company. And we do need to think long-term and set the ground rules from day one, as we saw in the video. So how do you set goals? So you setting goals, you need a plan, and teams are goal-directed entities. So you want to make sure that you set the direction and the clarity on how is it that your team are going to get there. Specify, always let them know why. You want to know, and there's nothing worse for you to be asked to do something but you really don't understand why you're doing it. So you want to make sure that everybody understands what the purpose of the goal that you try to achieve is. Make sure the goals are clear and simple. It sounds silly, but it really is the one way where you're going to make sure that everybody is on the same page. Specify the ends, but not the means. So do not prescribe the how to get there. Give them freedom. I'm a very creative person. I love creativity, and I really like the idea that I have a target that I need to achieve, but that I can actually be resourceful to find the best way to get there. I sometimes find, do not micromanage. There's nothing worse than having a micromanager, leader or boss or somebody that's behind you to get something done, because it's not fun, it's not exciting, it doesn't really motivate. You want to empower your people, and definitely by telling them exactly how they need to do things, you are not doing that. And you want to have definitely individuals that are empowered to be able to deliver the resources, and have clear target and timelines and resources. You want to make sure that they know what is it that when it's due, what the exact target is, and most importantly, ensure that the resources they need are provided. You cannot ask somebody to build something really fast when you're giving them a really bad computer that has no speed, or we need to be realistic with what we want to build with what we have, and especially if we're asking somebody else to do it, make sure that they are able to do that. So the hiring process, you definitely want to try to hire the best. And this is hard at the beginning because you are small. You probably don't have the resources. The best people tend to go to the biggest companies that have the deepest pockets. But as Brian Chesney was saying, it's it took them 5-6 months to find the right person, because he wanted to make sure that it was the best person, the best fit for that particular role. You want to ensure, like, remember, early hires have a huge impact on the future of a business. Getting this wrong will impact the business outcome. It has been proven by data that if you, like, really poor hires at the beginning of an organization can really bring performance and even the outcome of the business be put in jeopardy. So you want to make sure that whoever you are bringing in is able to lift you and take you to a better place rather than you having to be, you're being dragged by them. As I say, low hire rate at the beginning is a measure of success. It means that you're being efficient and resourceful, finding like better ways to do things. Experience is not a deal breaker for most roles. So at the beginning, when you're hiring, focus a lot on the soft skills. I mean, obviously they need to have technical knowledge, but if you're building, if you're programming and you're going to build an app that does, I don't know, a computer game, and you find somebody that really meets the criteria that you're looking in terms of values, in terms of knowledge and qualifications, but the actual life experience in terms of work has been building or coding or programming something that's in a completely different field. I mean, that's transferable, and as long as we're able to communicate, to set the goals, to give them the right tools, the space, and if the individuals are committed to what we want to build, and that's why, like, you know, finding the person that's really committed to your mission, it's so important. Then I'm sure that person is going to be able to achieve to do what you're asking them to do. I mean, soft skills are the hardest thing. If the person has no empathy, if the person is not able to communicate, if, like, you know, they cannot really perform in a team basis, that is tough. But if somebody that's smart, that's fast, that's committed, that wants to do things, it's like, if they're smart and they're young and they have the energy and they're committed to the project, they're going to find a way and they're going to figure it out. And that's why it's also important that you give them the way, like, that you give them the freedom to explore and to get to the end goal rather than just being on top of them all the time. However, at the same time, you want to make sure that if it's a leadership role, the person has experience like leading and managing and coordinating. You definitely, obviously, you want to, if somebody that shows that they can do it, and you have that trust relationship, and you know them from, you know, you have that, if you have you feel it's going to work, you can delegate or appoint somebody that has not as much leadership experience. But again, at the beginning, you want to make sure that if you need somebody to set direction and make sure that they can lead, like be in a leading role, experience is going to be of great value at that point. Check references thoroughly. Try to learn as much as you can. Usually we're told that having somebody that, like, try to hire at the beginning through references, through people that you know, something that is relatively close to you, that you can find enough of this person, as I say, because you want that commitment. And once you, regardless of how close you are with that person, make sure that you still check the references. And when you do it thoroughly. Ask lots of questions. I mean, try to make it as a conversation, not like a short 5-minute. There's not like a little box that you want to check in your to-do list. You want to make sure that it's a conversation that you can actually learn a lot, and you can gain some insight from the individual that's going to be part of your team. And use referrals, as I say, as much as you can. That's the best way to attract good people. And try to work on a project with the person before you hire them. That's something actually I do a lot. So before I actually commit to somebody, I try to give them like a very small project and see how that goes. You know, if the person doesn't deliver on time, it's gonna help you measure a lot more than just a simple interview. Because interview, I mean, a lot of people are great at interviews and they can say a lot of great things, but then when it comes to time to deliver, it's a different story. So many times I just say, you know, I have this really, for example, when I was doing interior design, I used to say my house is my lab, so I'll just call a contractor and get them to like change a light fixture, like open a hole in a wall. I mean, it had driven my family, it'd be crazy, but it was perfect. Like, you know, I knew that if this person showed up on time, what's really there, like got the material. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can actually get a sense from the individual when you're actually interacting with them in a more work environment than when you're like wearing a suit in front of it and just having an interview. So try to find your own little lab, find little projects, invent the projects or whatever. But if it's like a 2-day assignment or half a day assignment or something, that's going to give you a lot more than what it is. Okay, I'm going to try another short little video here. But now something that I actually wanted to touch on, which is it's very important, and most of the time founders or creatives don't think about is partnering with somebody, or getting a co-founder or co-founders, and we take it quite lightly. It's been proven statistically that founders spend very little or no time in choosing, especially as the youngest you are, the likelier you take the lightest it is for you to make that decision. Oh, you are my best friend, let's start a business. Or, oh, I have my roommate and I'm going to start something with them. And we really don't take into consideration the implications that we're getting into. Individuals place more time hiring employees than hiring for the co-founders, and that's crazy. I mean, just look at everything that we thought about, like how much time and effort, and we know when we're going to bring somebody on board to work with us, we spend a lot of time thinking about, what this person needs to do, what's the job description, what do we want for them to bring to the equation, but a lot of the times we don't really make the same analysis into who we're going to be choosing to partner with, which is a much bigger relationship in terms of, especially from the legal standpoint of view, the commitments that we're getting into. So co-founders need to be resourceful. You want to make sure that they act quickly, be decisive, they're tough, and they're calm at the same time. You want to also, I always say that you want to make sure you have somebody that complements your skill set. If you are a sales and very customer friendly, front end oriented person, you probably want somebody that's more to partner with somebody that really wants to think of the operation side of the business, the engine, what is the product. If you're a technical person, maybe you want somebody that's not technical. So try to balance out the levels of skills, because that's going to be of great benefit once somebody can take on this side of the business and you can also sort of take on the other one. Having a co-founder is great. It's proven to be very successful. The majority of the highly successful startups have co-founders. So it is not a bad idea, but you definitely want to make sure that you get it right. Co-founder relationships are among the most important in the company. If there's an issue between founders, owners, everybody's going to feel it. Everybody's going to know it's happening, and it's going to create a lot of tension. So you definitely want to make sure you address those right away. As I said, if you're not a technical person, then find a non-technical person. Better.
Okay, so you got point 4. If you're not technical, you need a technical co-founder. Now, I am technical. What should I be looking for in a co-founder?
If you're a technical person and you want to, so you're probably going to be, say, looking into the product. So in development of the product, operations, suppliers, logistics, then you probably want to be partnered with somebody that is looking front end for customer facing, looking into sales, marketing, business development. It's usually it goes like that. You might want to even have a third person that says, I'm going to be the CFO and I'm only going to be doing the financials. That's another aspect that you might want to, or you say you might end up doing sales, and because eventually you have somebody else that's way better at finance. So you sort of want to be very aware of what your strengths and what are the areas where you're not as strong. And if you can complement that. What's that?
I'm well aware of that, yeah.
So yeah, but sometimes we don't think about it. As I said, a lot of the time, and it's proven that as the younger founders are, the more likely they take that. So it's I'm gonna get the roommate or the first person that just goes by, and you just launch a company. It can become quite successful, but there might be a lot of friction down the road because they don't share the same set of values, because they don't really complement each other. Or, I mean, the easiest one, they don't work at the same rate.
Okay, and like further down, you've got the side co-founders equity split as soon as possible, but how do you value, or how do, what your co-founders' contributions may be worth in terms of that equity?
Well, it's more, I mean, but I mean, the evaluation of the company, like, it'll be separate. I mean, it'll be performance-based, projections-based, all this stuff. But, you know, you definitely want to know that, are you going 50-50? Is it 60-40? Are you just going to have somebody that's an investor? Like, you can do 90-10. The thing is that the truth is you want to be the most equal you are. That's going to be proportional with the effort that the person is going to be putting in. So if you want to do 90% of the job to take 90% of the gain, that's fine, but then you need to be aware and not have a ton of expectation for the other person. When it becomes really stressful is when you are the one that's, say, doing all the job, all the work, and the other person's just not putting as much hours, or is like on vacation all the time. You have all the flexibility in the work. You really can decide to show up or not. So that's why, I mean, saying like, you know, that's why, like, the eighth one is really the one that's very key. You definitely want to have a well-drafted partnership agreement, and that you don't do on your own. I mean, that money is not worth saving. I mean, you do want to have a lawyer. I mean, that you want to spend that amount of money to make sure that you have them, and that's where you're going to actually touch on all the points, all the areas. I mean, things change, and again, agreements can change, but at least at the beginning, have something that makes you feel that you're protected, because splitting, shareholder split is really not a fun. It's just a difficult conversation. And then the one that everybody also hates is firing. It comes with the job. You're probably going to have to do it. Everyone hates it. It's not great, but if somebody's not performing, you really want to do it and do it fast. Don't wait too long. Everybody hopes, especially like at the beginning, like we all want to make sure that this employee is going to do better. You know, things are going to turn around. Or, you know, maybe he's having a bad day or week or month, or he doesn't understand the job, he doesn't get it, and you sort of keep pushing and pushing and push it. As I say, the earliest at the earliest stages that you are, the biggest the impact that's going to have within the performance of the overall team and the overall organization. So don't wait until the individual drags all the team down. You want to make sure that you obviously want to do it properly. There's processes of how you fire somebody. There's probation periods. There's different measures. You want to make sure you get the right advice. But overall, nobody likes it. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. Individuals that have like too much politics, they're not practical. Everything, they make it complicated. They fail to deliver. It's hard. You know, people tend to get it wrong at the beginning, but eventually, like you just need to get it done and move on. So how do we make sure that we keep our team and that they want to stick with us? Because that's really important. Make sure that you're somebody that inspires. Be a leader, not a boss. I mean, you want to make sure that these individuals feel part of your team, part of who you are, what you're doing. So, motivate them. Make sure that they're happy. Make it fun. Make it easy. Like, communicate, share, build trust, set goals, have well-defined, drafted plans, and delegate. As I said before, do not micromanage. You don't have time for it, and it's super annoying. Especially like if it's a creative person that needs that sort of space to perform and deliver, you just can suffocate it and they'll eventually end up leaving. Give feedback constantly. Have like this open communication. I always say in my particular case, my door's always open. You want to talk about something, and it's easier to sort of say, if something somebody's doing that's not great or it's not to your satisfaction, it's easier to have like these small conversations and hopefully you get incremental improvements than to have to wait, say, 3 or 4 months and then have to fire the person. A little bit also unfair if you have not been providing the right feedback. So constant feedback, and also foster that culture of exchange, communication, and openness within, the right respect and within the organization, so individuals can actually do that all the time among themselves when you are there in the room or when you are not there. Many large organizations, they encourage this all the time, and it's like constant retribution that you're getting, and it actually makes you be a better person. And as I say, good communication is key. Stay in touch with your team, foster a culture of continuous communication. So how do you empower your team? You can make sure that you're open to new ideas. When a working group manager is open, inviting to new ideas, it is great. I mean, you sort of people are excited to share. I mean, sometimes they might be implemented, sometimes they might not be implemented, but feeling that you are able to, I'll say, speak your mind and people around you are going to be receptive to these, it's powerful, because when you are stuck with a problem, it's a great way to bring new solutions and to make sure that everybody wants to participate in finding the way out of whatever. Help develop others, train them, educate them, and expose them to new experience. For them to get the exposure, to get to see the actual clients, I mean, to really take this sort of everyday desk experience to the real world. I mean, the commitment and the engagement that this brings for them when they come back to the office is huge. Educate them. I mean, if you have a great person, but there's a new program or there's something that's changing, invest in their skill sets and make sure that they actually become better qualified to do the job. It's gonna give a lot of positive impact within the organization. Have supportive and trusted managers. You want to make sure as a team player, you want to make sure that your manager's there. Like having that trust, that people can feel that they're going to be there, they're going to be listened, and most importantly, that it's going to be taken into consideration. You cannot promise that we cannot be everything to everybody in terms of keeping everybody completely happy, but I think that if people feel valued and taken into consideration, and more importantly, that people are listening to them, I think that's great. And most importantly, it's going to make them feel that sense of ownership and engagement within your company. Recognition, rewards, and encouragement. Show appreciation, rewards, and motivate them. As one of the entrepreneurs said during the event last week, she's like, listen, you always praise your team. Everything good that happens is their fault. Everything bad that happens is your fault. And you sort of want to make sure that you're always, thankful and recognizing the importance of the job they're doing and how that is contributing to the overall goals of the organization. Build a positive work environment. Teams should feel safe, valued, and respected, as I said. And if there's that rotten apple that's sort of bringing the team down, that's always bummed, negative, not happy, you need to make sure that you take care of them, and that's not there. And then give them authority, empower them, make sure that within certain range, team members can make decisions that are going to change. Sometimes this is going to free a lot of your time as a leader, because remember, when you're leading, everybody's coming to you for a decision. Can I do this? Can I do that? I don't know if it's still valid, but my understanding is Four Seasons hotels, they're very customer driven. Every employee within the hotels at any level had the power of, I believe, making decisions of up to $200 that will instantly make a customer happy if they need, if the situation came up. Can you get me this approval because we have an emergency? I'm like, no, fix the problem. I mean, I need it. So there's a certain element of freedom that you want to give the people that are around you, and that's gonna make you, is gonna come back like in a much better way. So key takeaways for today, as I said, set your vision, prioritize your culture, set up the goals that you want to achieve, and these, the culture, the vision, and the goals should be able to inspire to make sure that people are looking up to you and they're like happy and feel included and being cared for within the organization. Align your team to your goals, and hire and fire when you need to. Don't hire too early, don't hire too much, but also if you need to get rid of individuals within your team, you make the call, you are in charge. Empower your teams. I think that's important. It's going to help them within certain limits. It's going to help them achieve a lot more. And then, most important, measure performance and give feedback always. You want to make sure that you're staying on track, that you're delivering. No matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how hard you work if you're not achieving what you're meant to be achieving, if you're not delivering the product and the service that you're committed and given to. Nobody gets credit for trying. I mean, people get credit for delivering, and that's sort of like a part of the culture that you want to make sure lives within your organization. And give feedback. People are not gonna get better if they don't understand, they're not aware that they're doing something wrong. So keeping that open communication is really important. Founders set up the goals, and whatever the founders focuses on, that's where the company is going to be focusing. So make sure you get the vision right. Make sure that you have clarity of where you want to go. Make sure that you have clarity of the everyday goals that you want to achieve, and that you have the right people with the right resources in the right place, so you can really supercharge your product, your team, and deliver to the market on time. Thank you.
Today is the deadline date for the consultation applications. For interest in a meeting with Patricia to speak about your business plan or a deep discussion on business topics that interest you, please sign in. There's a sign-in clipboard there. And write your name and your email and or phone number, and I will contact you to book a time slot. There are only a limited number of slots available, so if you can, please fill that in. Also, if you can complete the feedback form, this will help us so much to shape the future programs like these today. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night. Thank you.